Days passed, but time seemed endless. The rain never stopped, and the ark rocked with the force of the waters. Noah and his family were isolated, not knowing what was happening outside, unsure if anyone else had survived. Fear accompanied them, but there was also a sense of hope, as if the mission they were fulfilling was a sign that, in the end, everything would have a purpose. Noah, with the help of his sons, cared for the animals, trying to maintain order and balance inside the ark. But the anguish of not knowing what was happening outside the vessel was almost unbearable. After 40 days and 40 nights, the rain finally stopped. The waters began to slowly recede, and Noah, with a mix of relief and anxiety, knew that the worst was yet to come. He sent out a raven to see if the land was dry, but it returned without bringing any news. Then he sent out a dove, which, after a while, returned with an olive branch in its beak. It was a clear sign. The land was coming back to life, and the flood was over. Noah felt a wave of gratitude fill his being. A new beginning was within reach, but there was one last task: to honor the one who had given him this chance. As he exited the ark, Noah knelt and built an altar, offering sacrifices to God in thanks. He knew that without that covenant, none of this would have been possible. It was then that God made a promise with Noah, vowing never to destroy the earth with a flood again. As a sign of this covenant, God placed the rainbow in the sky, a reminder that the future of humanity was now in their hands, and that, though they had faced the end, a new journey was about to begin. Noah looked up at the sky, observing the vibrant colors of the rainbow, feeling, for the first time, at peace with what was to come. Noah was never someone who stood out in a crowd, but he always tried to live in the most righteous way possible. His entire life was based on honesty and integrity, as he believed that being good to others was the only way to face the world's difficulties. He used to think that evil was part of human nature, and that somehow people needed to learn to deal with it every day. But over time, he noticed that something was changing around him. People seemed to be growing more selfish, violent, and indifferent towards one another. It was as if humanity had forgotten all traces of goodness. Noah tried to ignore this and focus on his simple life with his family and daily tasks, but it was impossible to overlook the fact that the world around him seemed to be sinking into a growing darkness. It was during this time that he began having strange dreams, always involving a lot of water, as if everything was submerged. He didn't tell anyone, thinking it was just stress from his everyday life, but the dreams continued, becoming more intense with time. One day, while alone and reflecting on life, Noah felt a different presence. He couldn't explain it exactly, but it was as if someone was watching him. Before he could react, he heard a clear and firm voice telling him that he needed to build something large, something that would save his family and the animals. At first, Noah thought he was losing his mind, but the voice kept speaking, so certain and clear that there was no way to doubt it. At first, Noah was paralyzed, unsure of what to do. The voice seemed to come from a distant place, but at the same time, so close, as if it were inside his own mind. He felt a chill run through him, but a sense of peace filled his body. It felt natural, as if he had always known, deep down, that this would happen. When the voice gave him clear instructions on what he needed to do, Noah, without questioning, prepared to follow them. Building a massive vessel, bigger than anything he'd ever seen before, seemed like an impossible task, but he knew he had no choice. The mission was more than just an order. It was a calling he could not ignore. In the following days, Noah began working on the construction of the ark. He followed God's instructions, which provided details about the dimensions and materials to use. Although he had unwavering faith, Noah knew this task would be harder than anything he had ever done before. People around him, upon realizing what was happening, began to mock him. Some called him crazy, others laughed, but he remained steadfast, undeterred by the jokes and criticism. Each board he nailed, each piece of wood he cut, felt like one step closer to fulfilling what he had been told to do. He knew that somehow he was preparing the future for his family and all the living creatures on earth. The construction work did not stop. Noah and his sons were fully dedicated to the project, without rest, without failure. The weight of the task became more and more visible on their faces, but there was something that motivated them to keep going. With each passing day, they moved further away from the world they knew. People around them continued to mock, to laugh, to make jokes about what they were doing. But Noah felt that there was something greater at stake. He knew his mission wasn't just about building an ark. It was a preparation for what was to come, a new beginning for humanity and for all creatures of the earth. Finally, after many months of hard work, the ark was almost finished. Noah began to see signs of what God had told him. The sky was heavier, the wind felt denser, and the clouds, which had always seemed distant and indifferent, now seemed closer, as if the very sky were preparing for what was about to happen. He felt that any moment the waters could come down. During the day, he looked to the horizon and felt the weight of his task, as if the pressure of the entire planet were on his shoulders. When the ark was finally completed, Noah looked at it with a mix of relief and apprehension. He knew he was ready. But what would come next still made him uneasy. When the time came, Noah and his family entered the ark along with the animals. He knew that what was about to happen would change everything. The doors closed, and the sound of the wind and waves began to take over. The gates of the sky and the springs of the abyss opened at once. The water started rising quickly, flooding everything around. Noah took one last look at the outside world before losing sight of everything he knew. The flood was not just a catastrophe, it was the end of an era. All that was left was the ark and the uncertain future that awaited.